Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk honest stuff about life stuff and what it means to come home to yourself in a world that's moving too fast. Oh man, is that what we are talking about today? Today is June 24th, 2025. This is episode 319. Today's episode is a little bit different than what I've been talking about lately. Today we're going to get into some real deep stuff, and this started with me trying to put some words to something that I've been feeling lately, this kind of like weird in-between space where life is still happening and the chores are still getting done and all the stuff is still happening, but something inside me feels off. It just feels off. It's not like terribly broken. It's not like it's falling apart. It just feels off and sort of disconnected. And the more that I thought about it, the more that I realized how easy it is to drift away from the kind of life that you meant to be living before you even notice. Like, you don't even notice that you're doing it. So today I'm going to talk you through that. I'm going to talk about what happens when you lose your spark. I'm going to talk about what happens when too much convenience creeps in. I'm going to talk about when things get real easy, but they don't fill you up. I'm going to talk about when you're trying to find that line between giving yourself grace and getting back to the kind of work that actually fills you up. And maybe this episode is a little bit more honest than I planned it to be, but I think it's probably exactly what some of us need to hear. So before we get to that, what's been happening on the Lifestead? Well, I had to wait to record this morning till our power came back on. Y'all, the weather here has been crazy. I feel like I moved to Texas over the weekend. It was 96, 97 degrees, super humid. I don't even know what the real feel, or what we used to call it, the heat index, right? Now we call it the real feel. I think it was like 110 in some places. It's just crazy. We don't do hot in Minnesota. We don't do hot in Minnesota. We do cold. We're built for cold. So it was miserable trying to figure out how to keep those rabbits alive. If you don't keep rabbits, here's what you need to know about rabbits. Rabbits really do way better in the cold than they do in the heat. And so when we have a heat wave like this, you really got to pay attention to those rabbits because they don't do well in the heat. What I did, and this is actually a tip that I learned from my pals over at Two Chicks Homestead. So thank you, Nate and Aaron, for teaching me about this tip. But if you have like ceramic tiles, like maybe you've done a project in your house and you have some ceramic tiles left over, go ahead and stick those in the freezer, okay? Stick them in your freezer, get them good and cold, and then you pull them out and you put them in your rabbits' cages, and the rabbits will plop right down on those frozen ceramic tiles, and they will, like, you can almost hear them say, "Thank you, this is so much better." So we had a bunch of ceramic tiles left over from a bathroom project that we had done. We don't have the big, like 12 by 12 tiles. Ours were, they were much smaller, maybe 4 by 4. And, but they worked. We had a whole box of them. And so we just put the whole box in the freezer, and I just kept changing them out whenever I was home. The problem was we were gone a lot this weekend. And so wherever we were, I was nervous about these rabbits, but we would stop home and we would change out the tiles. And it worked really well. We also had a fan on them. The barn that we have them in stays cooler, obviously, than the outside. We keep it shut up, but oh man, it was still hot in there. It was too hot in there. So had a fan going, and between the fan and the frozen ceramic tiles, everything was okay. So that's great. Another thing that you can do is do frozen water bottles, and we've done that too, but rabbits like to chew, and then they chew on the bottles, and then I'm always afraid that they're going to get little pieces of plastic and choke or digest them. So I love the ceramic tile tip. What else can I tell you? Our garlic scapes are ready here. Garlic scapes. That sounded like garlic escapes. Garlic scapes. So if you don't know what those are, if you're growing hardneck garlic, the hardneck varieties, when they're growing, eventually the plant gets this little thing that comes out the middle of it, and it kind of looks like a chive, okay, like a giant chive. That's what I think about. So it's this giant chive looking thing that comes out, and then it like twirls around and makes like a letter P. Okay. And on the end of that is where the flower will be. You want to cut those off as the plant is growing. because then more of the energy will go into the actual garlic bulb, right? So you take them off. The really great thing is you can also use these for cooking, all right? So a really great thing is you cut them off the plant and then you take them inside and you saute them up. They're delicious. You add them to whatever dish you're making that you wanted a garlic flavor in. I think of them like garlic chives. For some reason, that's what's stuck in my head. They're great. I also heard you can make a garlic scape pesto. So once I get enough here, maybe I will try that. Okay, with that, man, I'm just all messed up with the power being out for a couple hours this morning. I gotta catch up on everything now. Okay, so let's head over to the main topic, and we're going to talk about the problem with saving time and why I think we actually get burned out and why easy gets it done, but it doesn't fill you up, and how that eventually leads you to a podcast episode like this. Lately, I have been thinking a lot about how easy life has gotten and how, weirdly, I don't always feel better for it. We live in a world now where you can get your groceries delivered, you can get your floors cleaned by a robot, you can have your entire dinner microwaved in 90 seconds. And listen, I'm not mad at frozen pizza. I'm not mad at frozen wings and fries. I eat that stuff. In fact, I probably will have it once this week. But let's not pretend that kind of food feeds us in the same way that a home-raised, home-cooked fried chicken dinner does. Easy gets it done, and sometimes we need easy. I'm thankful for the option of easy, but easy doesn't fill you. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Do you know what we're really good at? We are really good at saving time. We have built our entire modern life around it. Fast food, voice to text, drive-through everything, one-click ordering, auto-scheduling, meal kits, smart home devices, AI. Everything is designed to help us do it faster. And again, I'm not mad at that. There's nothing wrong with convenience necessarily. It's a tool. And I like not having to walk uphill both ways in the snow to buy flour. I am not anti-convenience, but I am wondering, what exactly are we filling all that saved time with? Right? Because we're saving all this time, supposedly, but we're not using it to slow down. We're not using it to rest. We're not using it to bake bread or write long letters or sit on the porch with someone we love. No, we're using all that saved time to fit in more stuff. More meetings, more scrolling, more content, more productivity, more noise. It's like we have swapped sweat and slowness for convenience and consumption. And then we look around at our life and we wonder, why am I still tired? Why am I burned out? Why do I feel like I'm doing everything and nothing at the same time? And here's a thought that's been rattling around in my brain a little bit. I don't think we're burned out because we're doing too much. I think we are burned out because we're doing too many things that don't actually matter. Or we are doing things that matter, but we're doing them for the wrong reasons. Like maybe we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, or maybe we're chasing numbers, or maybe we are performing instead of participating. Or maybe we are so used to being busy that when we're still, it feels like failure. But what if the answer is not about saving more time? What if it's about spending the time that we already have on things that actually mean something? Now, before somebody starts thinking that I am romanticizing the good old days, I'm going to stop you right there, because this isn't about pretending that, let's say, Ma Ingalls had it easy, because she didn't. And we know that. She wasn't out there churning butter by candlelight because she was trying to live her cottagecore dream, right? She was doing it because it was survival. And I'm not here to glorify hard work just for the sake of suffering. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're only a good person if your hands are cracked and your back hurts so much and you haven't sat down since sunrise. This is not about glorifying the grind, because I don't think that when we look into the old days, I don't think what we miss is the struggle. I think what we miss is the substance. I think we miss the feeling of having done something real, of knowing that what you made or built or cooked or fixed came from you, that it took your hands and your mind and your sweat and your attention to get it done. And I think there's this weird truth, and I think it's true. I believe it. I don't know if other people believe it or if people just don't want to admit it, but here it is. I think when something is harder and when it requires more of you, it is more satisfying. And that's not because we're gluttons for punishment or something. I think it's because difficulty demands presence. And I think there's probably lots of examples of this, but one that immediately comes to mind. Let's say you're looking for something you want to buy, there's something you need to buy. And if you decide not to one-click that thing on Amazon, you can just go on your phone and one-click it and it'll be here in a couple days. I mean, if it's at my house, it's going to be a couple days. I know some of you can get it in an hour, but it'll be here in a couple days where I live. So you decide you're not going to do that. And instead you decide you're going to wait and you're going to look for that thing, right? You're going to look at garage sales. You're going to look at thrift stores. You're going to look at other places. You're going to ask around to see if maybe your friend has one you can borrow or that they don't need anymore. And you finally find one, okay? Wherever you find it. And it's $3 and it works. And you're like, oh my gosh, I found one. This is so awesome. That moment right there, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're chasing. Because whether you would have ordered that thing on Amazon or you found it somewhere else, they're the same product. They're the same thing. You can hold one in one hand and one in the other and you're not going to know the difference. But the feeling, the experience of getting the thing, the story behind it, the weight of it, the work it took you to get it, that's what I'm talking about. See, when you can get anything you want, anytime you want, with no effort, it sounds great and it's really nice in the beginning, right? But eventually it feels hollow. Because when everything is easy, nothing feels valuable. Back in the day when we were first married and we had way less money. I mean, not that we're rolling in the dough, but when you're first married and you're like, oh my gosh, you're like pinching pennies, literally pinching pennies. When you have to wait for the things, when you have to work for the things, like it's a struggle to get the things, there was this pride that came with finally getting the thing, right? And I didn't realize at the time how much that mattered. But now I totally see that. Because the old ways required showing up. You had to know how to use your hands. You had to use your brain. You had to figure it out. You had to pay attention. I mean, back in the day, you didn't need a life planner with 17 tabs and stickers and habit trackers because you just had a rhythm. You had chores. You had seasons. You did what needed doing, and that was your structure. And I am not saying that we can or that we even should go back in time. But I am saying maybe what we need to go back to is ourselves. Because I think deep down, that's what we're missing. Do you ever wonder why people are so drawn to gardening or canning or baking bread or raising chickens so they can get eggs or meat? Have you ever wondered why there's this pull towards the simple life or the homesteading life or the farmish life, whatever you want to call this? And I'm not talking about I saw this on Instagram and I thought it looked kind of cool. I'm not talking about that kind of pull. I'm talking about the kind of pull that lives in your bones. It's that kind that you feel in your chest when you put your hands in the soil and you're like working with the earth. It's that kind of pull that makes you a little bit emotional when you try to bake bread for the first time and it actually turns out and you're like, oh my gosh, this bread right here, I made this and now I'm going to eat it. It's that kind of pull that makes you ache for something that feels real. I don't think any of us are drawn to this life, this farmish life, because we're bored. I don't think we decided to do it because we didn't have enough to do. I think we were drawn to it because something in us remembers. Even if we didn't grow up on a farm, even if, we weren't little kids with chickens running around the yard and had a big old garden, even if that wasn't us, I think our bodies know that slowing down and working with our hands means something. It's holy. There is something about a life that is seed to table, scratch to finish, like a dirt under the nails kind of living that calms the chaos. And not just the chaos around us, but I think the chaos within us. So if you've been around for any amount of time here, you know that I will often say you don't have to do it all. And I've said that a lot lately. That has been my message lately. You don't have to do it all. And I mean that. You are not Wonder Woman. You're not Superman. You are one human being doing the best you can with what you've got. And thankfully, we don't live in a world anymore where if your garden fails or a raccoon gets into your chicken coop and kills all your birds, we don't live in a world anymore where that happening means your family's going to starve. Right? We are not in a kind of survival mode that, people 150 years ago were living in. So, no, you don't have to pressure can for 48 hours straight. You don't have to build your pantry like it's some kind of competitive sport. And I will stand by that. But let me be very clear. Just because I believe in grace and just because I believe you don't have to do it all, it doesn't mean I've become some high priestess of frozen dinners and apathy, okay? Having grace for yourself is not code for I give up. Having grace for yourself is not code for I don't care anymore. Having grace for yourself means recovery. It means rest so you can come back stronger. Because there is something that I have learned the hard way a few times. You wouldn't think I'd have to learn it a few times. But there is a really big difference between rest and rot. Rest is saying, you know what, I've been going really hard and I think I need to step back for a little bit so I don't fall apart. That's rest. Rot is saying, what's the point? I'll just sit here until I disappear. And sometimes, y'all, let's be honest, it's a fine line, especially when life has been heavy for a while, especially when you have been in emotional survival mode, or maybe you're just plain burned out. It can be really easy to start confusing numbness for peace, and they are two different things. But here's the truth. You can give yourself margin and still do meaningful, gritty, satisfying work. You can rest your body without silencing your purpose. And I will be honest, this is not just some tidy message that I'm delivering from the comfort of having figured it all out, right? This came from me realizing recently something was off. And I couldn't even name it at first. It wasn't like there was some big moment. There was no meltdown. There was no giant breakthrough. There was just this slow, quiet drift. I had let some convenience creep in because, hey, sometimes we need that. This is not anti-convenience. Sometimes frozen pizza is dinner, and sometimes scrolling TikTok is the only brain power that you have left for the day. Okay? I get that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. All right? But over time, for me, it stopped being a break and it started being a pattern. And the food got easier and the spark faded. The proverbial firewood did not get stacked. And the strong part of me, the feisty part of me, the one who usually shows up and says, all right, how do we make this work? She just kind of sat down in the corner and stared at the wall for a long while. And the chickens just kept on laying eggs, and the farm kept existing, and I just kind of disconnected. And I think part of this was emotional chaos. There's been a lot of big changes in our family the last 6 months. I've had way too many mental tabs open, and instead of fighting for rhythm, I just decided to let it go. And I didn't spiral into darkness. I didn't fall apart in some big dramatic way. I just stopped showing up fully. And I don't even know what the shift was. I just remember one day I was looking around and I was thinking, okay, this is stupid. I don't want to live like this. This is not me. And that moment, which was very quiet and very blurry and not even that dramatic, is what started pulling me back. Not to hustle. I wasn't getting pulled back to hustle. I wasn't getting pulled back to perfection. I was just getting pulled back to substance and back to showing up and back to remembering who the hell I am. This is not about going full throttle. This is about getting back in touch with the things that matter, the things that connect you to your home, connect you to your people, connect you to your purpose, connect you to yourself. Because taking a break and figuring things out is not the end of your story. It's just a pause between chapters, right? And sometimes the most radical, insane thing that you can do for yourself is to say, okay, I'm not giving up. I'm just going to start again, slower, with clarity this time, with purpose. I'm going to figure this out. I don't really think that we need more time. I know we're trying to save all this time and do everything faster. I don't think we need more time. I think we need more meaning. We have been sold this idea of progress, like this machine of constant motion, and we're in it, right? Because we're doing all the things, the meetings, the practices, the deadlines, the errands, the groceries, the don't forget to sign the permission slip, chaos, like all that. We're checking the boxes. We are finding the next time-saving tip so we can cram even more in. We are multitasking and we are batch cooking and we are auto bill paying, and somehow we are still one step behind everything and we cannot catch up. And so many of us are depressed. So many of us are anxious. So many of us are completely overwhelmed. And maybe the most heartbreaking of all is some of us are asking that really quiet, really terrifying question, which is, if I stop doing all of this, would it even matter? Would anyone even notice? Friend, you are doing it all. And this is supposed to be making life easier. So why does it feel so damn hollow? We don't need more time. We need more meaning. So if you are feeling foggy, or you are feeling lost, or you are feeling unmotivated, maybe you don't need a new planner. Maybe you don't need a new life coach. Maybe you just need to do something with your hands again. Maybe you need to knead some dough. Maybe you need to plant a seed. Maybe you need to go outside and lift something heavy. Maybe you need to scrub something that has been bugging you for a year. Maybe you need to show up to your life again. Not because you're behind, but because you are really, really hungry for something real. So if this speaks to you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do one thing this week the hard way. Okay? Just for the quiet satisfaction of doing something fully, something physical, and something on purpose. This is not about doing everything. You don't have to do everything. But what you do need to do is do something that reminds you who you are. Life has seasons. And sometimes the season is survival. Sometimes it's burnout. Sometimes it is staring at the wall with a blank face. But eventually we feel it. We feel that little tug. We feel that tiny voice that says, okay, time to come back. So do something this week that reminds you what it feels like to be alive and be present and be steady. That's what I want you to do this week. And I'll be doing that too. Thank you so much for being here today, for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening. If you think of someone who might need to hear this episode, I would love it if you would share it with them. That's how people hear about this podcast. It's by word of mouth. It's by you guys sharing the words that I'm saying that you think someone else might benefit from hearing. Until next time, y'all, stay strong, stay grounded, and stay farmish. Talk to you soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.